Bhagavad Gita Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Tonight we're going to learn about selection and criteria to pick up Bhagavad Gita. And I will turn this over to Pallavi ji and Nitin bhai. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Sunil ji. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji, over to you.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Pallavi ji. Thank you, Madan ji and Sunil bhai for a wonderful session. Good morning, good evening to all of you. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. And we'll have another engaging session of Bhagavad Gita today. Today we are going to talk about, there is no dearth of Bhagavad Gita books available right now. In fact, it is one of the most translated books in this world. So today we are going to look at some of the parameters that we can apply to select a book, because it's one of, this book is a manual for life. It is like the extract or the distilled version of Upanishads, the entire Vedic literature that we have. And Lord Krishna, it's like if our entire body of literature that we have from Vedas is like a cow, Bhagavad Gita is the milk that Lord Krishna is drawing from that cow, milking that cow, and it is being eagerly devoured by the calf, which is Arjun. That is how Bhagavad Gita has been defined. So today we'll go deeper into Shloka 4.2, which we are on. And during the course of the discussion, we will see what are some of the parameters or the criteria we can apply, and then what is tangible that we can realize out of it, and what are some of the yardsticks around that as well. So welcome again, everyone. Let me share my screen and we will get started. So let me share my screen. We'll get started with our opening prayers. Welcome, everyone. So we'll get started with our opening prayers then. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Okay, so let's get started. We are on Shloka 4.2. I'm going to recite it, and then those of you who have practiced it and feel confident enough, you can recite afterwards. You can raise your hand and Pallavi ji will invite you over. Evam parampara praptim imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa. Right? Do we have any volunteers for that? Parantapa. Arjun is being called as Parantapa again. In the course of this dialogue which is taking place between Lord Krishna and Arjun, both of them, they address each other with different names, and that carries a context for each shloka as well. So let's see. Let's have some participants recite it, and then we'll get into the discussion topic today.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Shalichi. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji.
Radhe Radhe, Shali.
Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa. Radhe Radhe.
Nice. Thank you so much, Shali ji. Beautiful.
Shyamji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Shyamji.
Radhe Radhe. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakalene mata yogo nashta parantapa.
No worries, your meter went a little, but that's fine. All right, I can see a few new names today.
Yes, Ashutosh ji, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Evam parampara praptam इमं राजर्षयो विदुः सकाले नेह महता योगो नष्टः परन्तप.
Very nice, Ashutoshi. Radhe Radhe, thank you very much.
Payal Dubey ji, Radhe Radhe, please
Radhe
go
Radhe.
ahead. Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
मिमं राजर्षयो विदुः सकाले नेह महता योगो नष्टः परन्तप.
Very nice.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Where are you joining us from? Manji, where are you joining us from?
Yes, I'm joining from Jaipur.
Jaipur. Okay, welcome. Good to have you and very nice recitation. Thank you. All right, we can take a few more hands.
Yes, Sam ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Samji.
राधे राधे एवं परंपरा प्राप्तम इमाम राजर्षयो विदु सकाले नेहा महता योगो नष्टा परंतपा. राधे राधे.
Very nice. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Samji.
Uday ji, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Uday.
एवं परंपरा प्राप्तम इमं राजर्षयो विदुः सकाले नेह महता योगो नष्टः परन्तपः.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Uday. All right, we can take a few more hands. Maybe we can cover
Yes.
if we don't have many.
Radhi ji,
Okay, four more.
Radhe Radhe,
hands.
please
We can
go
cover.
ahead. Yeah.
राधे राधे एवं परंपरा प्राप्तम् इमं राज अर्षयो विदुः सकाले नेह महता योगो नष्टः परन्तपः.
Very nice, Pragi ji. Thank you very much. Radhe Radhe.
Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Rupa ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone. Imam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale niham mahata sakale niha mahata yogo nashtatah parantapa.
Very nice, Rupa ji. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, two more hands and then we'll get started.
Yeah, Shruti ji, please go ahead. Thank you.
Radhe Radhe, Shruti.
Okay, where is it? I can't see the screen.
Oh, you can't see the
Yeah.
screen.
No, I can see now. Yeah. Sorry. No, yeah. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshyo viduh sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa.
Very nice.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe. Last one and then we get started. Yes, Sumesh ji.
Yeah, Sumesh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe everyone.
Ji.
Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshyo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nastah parantapa.
Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much, Sumesh ji. So all of you, very nice. You should congratulate yourself. We did the Mahatmya of chapter 4 and we know what kind of effect it can have. The story of those two girls who were trees in their previous lives, just by hearing this, they got a upgrade into human life directly. And if you are already human, then you find a place in the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. But the precondition is it has to be done with faith, reverence, and devotion. So just reciting it is very purifying and it can be transformative. That is the power of Bhagavad Gita shloka. So let's get started. Evam means thus, parampara, in a continuous tradition, praptam, received. Imam, this science, Raja Rishaya, the saintly kings Vidu understood that Kalena, with the long passage of time, Iha, in this world, Mahata, great, Yoga, the science of yoga, Nashta, lost, Parantapa, Arjun, the scorcher of foes. Short translation: O subduer of enemies, the saintly kings thus received the science of yoga in a continuous tradition, but with the long passage of time, it was lost to the world. That is what Lord Krishna is. He's explaining why he had to re-establish it through the sun god Vivaswan, as we saw in the previous shloka. So let's go further now. As we saw, what is the connection between these two chapters, chapter 3 and chapter 4? Chapter 3 ended where Lord Krishna was telling Arjun that we need to develop our buddhi, intellect, to quell that enemy that we have, perpetual enemy called lust, in order to conquer that. And chapter 4 is going to talk about how do we nourish it, what to nourish our intellect with, and how, the knowledge, the transcendental knowledge. And that is what we are going to get to hear from Lord Krishna in this chapter. So that is the connection between these two chapters. So if you look at it like a great teacher, Lord Krishna is going in a step-by-step manner and building on the concept incrementally. Like a good teacher, he first introduces a concept, then explains it, then starts building layers on top of it. And Lord Krishna is the perfect teacher. We recite that prayer, right? Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. He's the original Jagat Guru. So, and this is the connection, as we said, between these two. And then we discussed about the top-down and descending knowledge, how this knowledge goes. It goes in a disciplic succession from master to disciple. That is the process of descending knowledge. The beauty of descending knowledge is that all of that knowledge is available in one shot. If you surrender to the Guru, and based on the proportion of your surrender, that knowledge will start getting, graced to you. Basically, that knowledge, it's not a matter of swadhyay or self-study alone. This is something that will start getting revealed. It's like Guru starts bestowing his grace, and those spiritual truths, they start revealing themselves to you. That is how this knowledge comes. And that is the science of the God realization, is something that is achieved through Guru's grace. And this is a descending process. Ascending process is when you break the frontiers of knowledge, you keep on getting that. Descending is where you have access to the entire knowledge. If you're fully surrendered, you can get access to it right from the word go. Right? So there's not even a delay of a moment in getting access to that knowledge, right? Even when sun sends out light to earth, it takes about 8 seconds to reach here. 8 seconds, that too with a velocity of, I believe, 186,000 miles per second or kilometers per second, something like that. Still, it takes a bit of a time. But in this case, the moment you are fully surrendered to your Guru or God, you have immediate access to that knowledge. God does not even take a fraction to give that to you. Okay, that is how this works. So moving on, so this is the tradition in which Nimi and Janak, in the commentary, Swamiji has mentioned examples like he does throughout his book. The examples from scriptures itself. So this tradition started from God himself, who's the first Guru or the original Guru of the world. And the key here is to understand that it comes through oral tradition, which is called Shruti Praman, Shabd Praman, through the word of mouth. The master gives it to the disciple and go and God. It's not like these people are not ordinary people who impart this knowledge, and the disciples are not ordinary, where there is going to be a transmission loss in that knowledge. So this is the oral tradition. However, we'll look at that, and sometimes the material contamination can happen. That message can get diluted. That message may even diminish. And in those cases, God himself comes down and reestablishes that chain, just because he's a Karan. So this knowledge comes through Shabda Praman. We've spoken about this concept as well. And initially, God revealed this knowledge too. If we look at it, Bhagavatam, it says, Tena Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaya Muhanti Yat Sureya. So this knowledge was revealed at the beginning of the creation in the heart of the firstborn Brahma. Okay, if you remember the cycle, the Pratham Purush is Lord Krishna himself, and then comes the Dvitiya Purush, and then the Tritiya Purush, and then the Karanodakshai Vishnu. Through Karanodakshai Vishnu's navel, the lotus flower comes. Through that, the Brahma comes. And then Brahma, he has to perform austerities and do devotion. And then the knowledge is revealed. And then he goes about doing the creation. So Brahma creates it. However, Brahma himself is created through Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And then there is a Garbhodakshai Vishnu as well. We'll not get into those details today. But then this knowledge was initially revealed at the beginning of the creation in the heart of firstborn Brahma, and that tradition continued from there. And Lord Krishna in the previous shloka is saying that this knowledge was also revealed to sun god Vivaswan, and that tradition continued. So let's move further now. So then what happens over a period of time is what Lord Krishna is saying, that materially minded people and insincere disciples, they interpret the teachings according to their blemished perspectives. So if you remember, when we spoke about the qualities of a perfect guru, we said that they need to have two qualifications, Shrotriya and Brahmanisht. However, if your disciple has some vested interest, which can happen in this world, and that is also part of the grand scheme of things here, this knowledge can get diminished, because they will add their own perspective to it. See, it's like the dew drop, it is pure. However, depending upon the vessel on which it falls, it can manifest into different forms. So the same dew drop, if it falls on cactus, you get the thorns. If it falls on a lotus, you get a lotus. If it falls on mud, the soil, it becomes mud. And if the same dew drop, it falls on an oyster, the shell, it can become an oyster. So the water itself was pure. It was agnostic to the vessel. However, based on the vessel which received it, can add its own tinge or color to it. So similarly, this knowledge can actually be misinterpreted, because people are people, right? And then if they are under the influence of the three modes of material nature, that color can get added. It can become blemished. And also some people, they may have their own vested interest, right, around that. It can happen as well. As you can see, like any other place, even in religious place, you have people who can actually, because of their vested interest, that transmission loss can happen. So when this happens, if we go back in history, even at the time of Buddha, for that matter, the Vedic teachings were being misused. The message of Veda was distorted. Bali Pratha had taken prevalence, where people would kill animals indiscriminately, right? So that is why that avatar of Vishnu, Gautam Buddha, took place, and he said, let's wipe the slate clean. Let's start from scratch, forget about Vedas. So that's how he reestablished it. And then obviously in that chain, as we look at the original Jagat Gurus, they came and again established the chain. So it's very strategic. If you look at it from God's standpoint, he keeps on sending saints from time to time, so that message is always available for people who are seeking it for the right reason. And there is that chain is not broken. It will never happen, because otherwise it can become a unfair game, right? So as we see, it can, through generations, the pristine purity is contaminated. It can happen. As you can see, it's law of diminishing return. It can happen even with this message as well. So in the material world, with the passage of time, when the knowledge got lost, God said he has to come back, or there are two ways in which he establishes this message, is what we are going to look at now. What are those two ways? So when this happens, so God can either, because he's causelessly graceful, he reestablishes it for the benefit of humankind. And how does he reestablish? One way is either by descending himself in the world, as it happened in the case of Lord Krishna avatar. That is one way he can reestablish this message. This Bhagavad Gita message, as we know, right, it came from Lord Krishna. So that happened through his direct avatar. Or he can send a great realized saint who becomes a conduit for God's work on earth. So these are the two ways through how this message gets reestablished. That's what our scriptures tell us. Either God himself or through a God realized saint. Now, God realized saint and God, actually, there is no difference. That is what our scriptures say, because they are a conduit of God himself. If you are fully surrendered, God will make you an instrument and act through you. That is the principle of God. So it is said that when you are fully surrendered, as scriptures say, and when you become an instrument of God, there's absolutely no difference between you and God at that point, because he gives you everything that he has. It doesn't mean you start creating magic or things like that. Actually, saints will never even show any magic. Okay, they will be quiet people. You will not be able to realize them. There's absolutely no difference between God and them at that sense. In fact, it said that God gives you all of his powers except the power of logging the karmas, of people. And that is anyway a bookkeeping back office work. Who is interested in reading the bad thoughts that people are having all the moment, right? So God says, okay, I'll keep that dirty bookkeeping work with myself, but other than that, you have all the powers. Go, you are a millionaire from this day. All the trigun, tritap, tridosh, panchakosh, panchaklesh, everything is taken care of. So they may look like material people in flesh and bones, but they are beyond the body. They can leave their body on their own volition, and they come for an express purpose of establishing God's message or serving the people and helping them on this path, especially the people who are ready or who are sincere seekers. And that keeps on happening throughout the history of humankind. It's not like you'll be without somebody where you can't get your doubts clarified, or there will be a time in this universe when there are no masters around. No, it's never going to happen. They do keep coming from time to time. So anyways, these are the two ways. So let's look at the brief history of all the Jagat Gurus, and then we will get into a little bit of a discussion today. So like I said, Buddha came. That is when the Vedas were being misused. The Bali Pratha was prevalent, killing animals indiscriminately that Devi Devatas will become happy. It happens even today. All those things were happening. So Buddha came, he said, okay, forget about all that. Let's wipe the slate clean and just focus on your consciousness. So he brought people back into the fold of spirituality who had become atheists. Now, after that came Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, who was the first original Jagat Guru about 2,500 years ago. And he propagated Advaita philosophy. He built on where Buddha had left and actually brought in the impersonal aspect of God. That is the introduction he made. After that came Jagat Guru Ramanujacharya. He propounded Vishishta Advaita, or qualified monism, qualified non-dualism. These are deeper sciences, but let's just understand it without getting really deep into what it means. Then came Jagat Guru Nimbarkacharya. It was Dvaita Dvaitwad, or dualistic non-dualism, monodualism. Then came Jagat Guru Madhvacharya about 700 years ago, Dvaita, or philosophy of dualism. And then came Jagat Guru Kripaluji Maharaj, who reconciled all these philosophies. So what happened is, from each of the lineage of these gurus, people started forming their sampradayas, and from sampradayas, that viewpoint was held on to so tightly that they said that is the only absolute truth, until Jagat Guru Kripaluji Maharaj Ji came and he said, by the way, everybody was right, that he just reconciled all the philosophies, that God is not only impersonal but also personal. And because of it, the 500 scholars in Kashi with Vishwaparshad, he said, you are not only Jagat Guru but also Jagat Guru Tam, because the combined knowledge of all those scholars put together, who were experts in one area of Vedas and Upanishads, was actually not equivalent to what Sri Maharaj Ji had. And he was able to reconcile all the apparent contradictions in those scriptures, right? I had spoken about this concept. He did Khandan Mandan. Khandan first, that, okay, this scripture says this says this says this, so it doesn't make sense. And people were not able to justify it. Said, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And then after that, when people agreed, yeah, probably it doesn't make sense, then he said, no, actually it makes sense. And then he was able to reconcile it so beautifully. So the key point here to understand is that we had 5 original Jagat Gurus. If you look at a lot of mutts that were established, the disciples started declaring themselves as Jagat Guru as well. And then the disciples that followed them in their mutts, they decided to declare themselves as Jagat Guru as well. So if you go, especially in southern part of India, you will see every second person is a Jagat Guru. Okay, that is not the case. Actually, there are only 5 Jagat Gurus, original Jagat Gurus. The rest, I mean, if somebody comes and claims, that is fine, but they are not being formally accorded this stature, and these were not ordinary souls, by the way. So let's move on. Going on, what we are reading here is Swamiji's translation of Bhagavad Gita, these concepts, and that's where we're going to spend some time. He's the senior most disciple of Jagat Guru Kripaluji Maharaj, and He's a God-inspired saint who has re-established the ancient knowledge in modern times. The key here is to understand in 34, at the age of 34, as I explained, he got this title. And then he became the 5th original Jagat Guru after all the Jagat Gurus that I spoke about. And this commentary on Bhagavad Gita has been written based on the insightful understanding as revealed to me by Jagat Guru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj, is what Swami Mukundanand is saying. So this is the book we follow. In case you're not aware, if you don't have a personal copy, do get it. This is the one we've been following all along. So all the presentations, all the content, examples, analogies that I bring in are directly from this book or inspired by some of the lectures from Swamiji or Maharajji. Okay, so this is the book, the latest edition that has come out in Amazon. So let's go into a little bit into the concept of the first question, obviously, that comes to mind is, which I had posed today, is this book is one of the most translated books in the world. And I'm sure a lot of you would have attempted reading it as well, myself included. I tried reading it probably 10 years back. Couldn't go past 30 pages. Obviously did not have capacity, not that I have now, but it was difficult. It's not an easy book to understand. The concepts are pretty profound, and it takes some doing to even get to reading it. And let's say you cross that initial hurdle, to sustain that momentum or to sustain that interest, it's very difficult, because those concepts, it's very nice to tell people I read Bhagavad Gita, but to get that import is very, very difficult. Takes God's grace. And of course, we need to lay our hands on a commentary that can actually help us make progress on this one, right? So I'll talk about some of those concepts here. So obviously, what is the criteria, selection criteria one needs to apply to pick up a translation which can actually be truly beneficial? So let's talk about some of those, these the ones that I could identify, because of which this Herculean task of trying to read Bhagavad Gita, understand Bhagavad Gita, and be able to come and discuss Bhagavad Gita is made at least somewhat possible. Okay, so we'll talk about some of those concepts that I have come across in this book. So one part of it is, as you can see, there is a gap between two mountains. And if we look at it from a understanding or learning perspective, one aspect of it is theory, and the other aspect of it is practice. And this part you can apply it to any science, even material science. Anything that we try to learn, understand, or imbibe in our life, it starts with understanding the theory behind it first. Right? If you want to lose weight or build muscles or practice a new skill, same principle is applied. So there's a theory, and then there's a practice aspect of it. However, the gap between them is the widest gap. Okay? It is a pretty big divide or a gap that needs to be bridged. It doesn't happen so easily. However, the important thing is with the theory is, this is 50% of the battle. If you have understood the theory well, your fundamentals or the concepts are clear, you have won 50% of the battle already. That battle is very important to win, because if our theory, our foundation, the fundamentals, the concepts are not clear, then it's like a wild goose chase. So that the first part of the battle, we really have to put a lot of effort, thought around how do we win that first part of the battle. And then rest 50%, obviously that is another challenge that will get down to how quickly we can start implementing some of these teachings in our day-to-day lives. But then the theory we cannot underestimate, and that is why it's very important to land or lay your hands on the book that can ease you into these concepts, and not only ease you into those concepts, but can explain you in a manner that makes sense, that appeal to our logic, our rational, prudent mind, and then also help you, ease you into a journey of how to implement it as well, right? All has to be covered. So from that sense, this book, if you go through it, like we are doing it, we are going to cover this book, the entire length and breadth of this book. 50% of the battle will be won. Trust me, if we spend 6 years, I think it's going to take another 5 years to complete this book. at least 50% of the battle will be won on the theory part of it. Okay. And we will do it so many times, going back and forth, cross references, theory, key concepts, fundamentals, that at least from the theory, we will run out of this excuse. By the way, I never understood it properly. Okay. You will lose that excuse by the time we complete this. Okay. I can assure you that. I told that to Swamiji, previously I could have given this excuse that it was very difficult, never found anything, which made sense. So no, I've run out of that excuse. We'll exhaust that excuse by then. So 50% of the battle will be won by the time we complete this book, maybe much sooner than that. And rest 50 is obviously our own battle, how quickly we can take the key learnings, the import of this Bhagavad Gita, and start imbibing in our life in our small ways. So that is the first part of it. So theory, if you have to understand the theory, I haven't come across any better book. I've tried multiple books. Something is missing. Okay, but this one, spot on. Anybody who wants to approach anything logically, systematically, in a structured manner, this is just an amazing book from that standpoint. Okay, so if you don't have a personal copy, strongly recommend you. I think there's a Hindi version out as well. Do not miss out on that. It's a must have in your library. Okay, the second aspect of it, let's move on. Easy to difficult. Okay, now these concepts are esoteric. They are not easy concepts. Okay, what we are discussing is one of the most deepest and the profound knowledge available on this planet. Okay, it's not something like an ABC anybody can do. So they are very, very deep and difficult concepts, esoteric concepts. However, Einstein said that if you cannot explain it simply enough, you don't understand it well enough. And that is another beauty of this book. Okay, Maharajji's teachings, if you have heard him ever, if you get an opportunity, privilege, honor, they're so logical, so structured that your common sense, it's just through your common sense you'll start understanding it, as you would be seeing if you're actually able to appreciate some of the stuff that we discuss. It's directly coming from his teachings, which Swamiji has put down in his commentary. And I love this quotation from Einstein: you can explain something easily, something that everybody can understand, only if you have understood it well enough. There's another English quotation which says it's very easy to make things difficult, and it's very difficult to make things easy. You can only make things easy when you have actually understood it really well, or have it as a realized knowledge, not just as a theoretical knowledge. So that's another part of it. All the profound concepts, asat, mithya, concepts that you will keep on, those concepts will keep spinning in your head for the rest of your lives. But if you read it, done deal. It just makes sense. After that, the concept is crystal clear. That is how beautifully some of the deepest concepts around some of the shlokas are explained. If you look at 2.47 that we had discussed, so beautifully it is broken down into 4 principles. NATO, right? Not attached to outcome. Don't get attached to the fruits. Offer the fruits to me. Simple 4 principles. If you keep it in your head, you've understood the shloka. Instead, you can continue reading commentaries, 5 pages, 10 pages, 15 pages. The import of it will still not come out very clearly. So brevity and to the point is another aspect of it in a very, very simple way. The third aspect of it is the science and spirituality that we think are at loggerheads with each other. They are contradicting each other. It's either or scenario. Is beautifully married, these two concepts. Himself being an engineer, so the bridge between these two is so beautifully explained with very clear logic. So anybody who thinks they are of scientific temperament, I think we had a quick session, short session we did, especially the teenagers or the younger generation these days. If they really go through this, if they are fortunate enough to get that inspiration to read this book, that bridge, they will find that missing link between these two things, which seem contradictory, they will be able to find that bridge here, and so beautifully, nicely explained. So what are the limitations of this science and where the other science steps in, and how one science is an absolute perfect science and other science is a deficient work in progress science. That is very, very clearly explained, not just from a philosophical standpoint, but also through the example of the scientists and some of the discoveries that have taken place over the years that we feel so proud about. So that is the third thing that struck me. The fourth one, as you can see, we are stapling and something is sticking. The concepts will stick in mind. This is a very important thing. So when you go through some analogies and stories, and those are not the stories which are built, they are coming in directly from Bhagavatam or through our scriptural reference, and the analogies that come, they will make sure that this concept is crystal clear to you. It will make it stick, right? Some of the things that we have spoken about in the class about, what are the different stories that we saw, Muni putting fuel to fire, trying to exhaust our desires, and all the concepts and the stories around that. When you actually look at from a scriptural standpoint, something directly coming from Bhagavatam, it lends not only authenticity to that, but helps us understands those concepts deeper. Why do we seek bliss? The constitutional position of part is to serve the whole. Hand stomach example, all these are coming from Swamiji books only, right? So that analogy will explain us why we as human beings, regardless of whichever nationality, caste, creed we are for, why do we seek bliss? Why do we have that common denominator? Why is it that we don't have a choice but to seek bliss? So beautifully, so nicely, so easily explained. So these concepts, if you understand, if you think about it, if you read it, they will stick. That is how beautifully it has been explained. Furthermore, it's not the scriptural and other, the rich wealth of scriptures and other references is provided. Okay, so if is to name a quote of you, Ramayana, Tulsidas, what Tulsidas says and how he has married the concept of, the things that have been said in Ramayana from Bhagavad Gita as well, right? Like in the case of Karam Yoga, I think there's a quotation from Ramayana which say, Sunahi karuhu jo tumahi suhai. That's what Ram Bhagwan had said. So basically the point here being that it's not just Bhagavad Gita, but the rich wealth of information that is available, the cross references across other scriptures, how do they reiterate some of these concepts? There's a liberal dose of that throughout the book. So Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Mahapuran, the Padma Puran, the stories, the references, the Upanishads, Kathopanishads, Mundakopanishad, and then Taittiriya Upanishad, and then the other religions, Buddhism, Sikhism, Christianity, and then all the contemporary Western philosophers, Socrates, Max Muller, what they had, everything. So it's like a holistic viewpoint around the principles that Bhagavad Gita is talking about. That much research has gone into it. It is surreal sometimes when I think, how can somebody attempt to write such a book with so much of wealth of information from so many places? It's pretty amazing. And that all has happened within a span of a couple of years during between his travel. So it's just almost like downloading it from somewhere. Pretty amazing if you look at that. And then, what is in it for me, right? That question comes obviously. It caters to a broad spectrum. Now, it is not a book which, if somebody who's a beginner who picks it up and they say, no, by the way, this is a pretty advanced topic and I'll not be able to know, you'll be able to pick up something from it. Not something, it will be able to make sense to you, even if you are a beginner. And if you are, let's say, an advanced scholar who needs some high octane stuff, who thinks, no, I've passed the basic stuff, you have more than that for that. So the beauty is that it caters to a broad spectrum, right from a beginner level to a most advanced level, because it has like liberal dose of scriptures and some of the very, very profound concepts to the utmost detail explained in a very lucid, vivid, and a very easy manner. So it caters to a broad spectrum. And the logic is flawless with no loose ends. One of the problems that I had when I attempted to read this book was I used to have more questions than answers. But as I said, if you persist long enough, you will realize that your logical mind will be satiated. One day your mind will say, all right, it all makes sense. There are no loose ends whatsoever. That kintu, parantu, but, however, all that will become shant. That is the beauty. So when we lay our hands on any book on a translation, these are some of the parameters which were important for me. So you need to have your own parameters. It may be tailored. Those are all custom parameters for each individual, but these are some of the ones which were important for me, and this actually helped me tie all those knots together. I mean, get all the jigsaw puzzle in place for the things that I was looking for. And the key thing here is that this book, the import of this book, can only be understood through faith and devotion, because when we approach it with a spirit of humility and reverence, that we are reading something that God had said, right? Then your what you end up absorbing and understanding will increase many folds. So that is the key ingredient or the secret sauce, even before you attempt to read this book. Obviously, these parameters are going to build on top of it, because we need it to be presented in a manner that we can easily understand in a step-by-step logical manner. But the key ingredient or the secret sauce about reading Bhagavad Gita is to first understand the grandness of this book. It is something that the creator of this universe, these words came out of his mouth, and it's a manual. And if we get an opportunity to discuss it, recite it, it's not a small feat. Okay, it's a big feat. We are extremely fortunate. Out of 7 billion people on this earth, it's not somebody who gets that privilege to do that. So when we approach it with that spirit, 50% of the battle is won there itself. You have that reverence, the faith, the devotion around it, and rest. Obviously, if you land up with the book like the one that I showed you, and if you just keep on reading it, even if it's one shloka a day, one chapter a day, it will start doing wonders for you. Okay, that much I can assure you. But like I said, we are on this beautiful journey. It will probably take another 5 years to complete it. And then after that, we would have run out of any excuse that theory was not clear. That much I can assure you for all the 700 shlokas. Okay, it'll be like at the back of your hand when you get into a discussion with somebody on Bhagavad Gita. Say, no, this is the concept and this is how you've understood it, and it'll be like solid and pakka in your mind. So that is one thing. You're welcome to add your viewpoint into what are the other things that are important for you when you look out for a translation for Bhagavad Gita. And I wanted to add another question to it, other than the selection criteria, of course. How do I know that the study is helping me navigate through the maze of human life? That is another aspect of it. So let's get the discussion going, because I have been on a non-stop talking spree today, and we have a little bit of a time for discussion as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Nitinji. Very well explained. Ramya ji has asked question, should we complete theory? Give me just a moment. Yes. So her question is, should we complete theory to be able to implement it practically, or can these two go parallelly?
It can go parallelly. There's no hurry. It's like we don't wait for the entire theory to be clear. It's just like you don't wait for all the signals to turn green. Okay, when you get out of your house, right? You don't keep on waiting. So one signal has turned green, implement it immediately. The other signal. So this is a journey, not from doubt to doubt. This is a journey from understanding to understanding. You may not have answers to all of your questions, but whatever little you have understand, start implementing it. If we spend our entire life, if you want to become a cook, and we spend our entire life learning the recipes without having tasted gulab jamun, then what's the point, right? Collecting all the recipes in the world.
Or without even trying hands-on in the kitchen.
Hands-on in the kitchen. Yeah, my mom is listening, right? One of the hobbies she had was to ask for every good recipe. Okay, how did you cook it? But I never got to taste it. So the point here is that it's important not just to understand the theory, but put it to practical, and it can go hand in hand. It's not a sequential process where one is done and then you step on to the next one, right? So yeah.
Yeah, well said. Preeti ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Yes, Preeti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Are you able to unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we can hear you, Preeti ji.
Nice. So I would like to answer the second question. How do I know the study is helping me? Right? I mean, if I talk about myself, as you started, Nitinji, I had been trying to read this scripture for a long, long time. I tried my hands at various editions, but I would keep them aside thinking that, oh my God, the sentence begins and then it ends after 3-4 lines. By the time I go to the full stop, the first sentence, the first part of the sentence is forgotten. Maybe I wasn't ready. The vessel wasn't ready, one, or maybe the book was way tough. But yes, how does this Gita now, our Swamiji's Gita, helping me? Well, I have become resilient. I have been able to, navigate my way easily, clearly. The grace of life have become less. I'm able to take a stance for myself, which is a big thing for me. I can, so far so good. I mean, there are 10 other things, but yes, this is not a platform I can keep talking upon. God, so go ahead, please. Thank you.
No, very, very nice. Very beautifully explained, Preeti ji. So if the bad news is that you were not able to understand it and go past the first 4 pages, the good news is you are an elite company. Okay. So
and at the hands of a good teacher.
Yeah, so yeah, Swamiji is a wonderful teacher and he's an
the Swamiji is of course a wonderful teacher, but I'm talking to a teacher who's my daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita teacher who's sitting across on the screen, Nitinji. Radhe Radhe.
That's so generous of you, Preeti ji.
Thank you.
It reminds me of that shloka, right? Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim tad kripa tadaham vande Paramananda Madhavam. So yeah, when God or Guru grace, they can make a dumb person become eloquent and a lame person climb over a mountain. So I'm happy that's happening to a dumb and a lame person like me. But thank you so much, and it's a great realization. In fact, I think a lot of you, I would like to hear from other participants as well, how it actually starts transforming it when something that you start understanding, and it's like, yes, it is doable, it is understandable, and then the next part is we just need to implement it. Thank you for sharing that, and I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with it. Let's hear from others as well.
Yeah, Padmaji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Padmaji.
Padmaji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
So to the first question about the book itself, right? Any book, anything in life, right? There are 3 things that we really look for. One is the connectivity, one is the reliability, and one is the relatability. And that changes for everybody. But overall picture will be always the connectivity, reliability, and relatability. Once you have those 3 criteria met, then what comes your way is the power of clarity. When you have the power of clarity, then you're able to parse yourself in your life, what is working, what is not working, what are your struggles, whatever those struggles are, whether it's spiritual struggles or materialistic struggles. When the power of clarity downloads, that it's downloaded, you have a vision to see the things that you're supposed to see. And not saying that things will get happier or worse, but you'll have that power of clarity to see the things that the way that you're supposed to see. And when the book is based out of like a very hard based, right? It is a spiritually based and it's very hard based. Your basics become very strong. When the foundation is very, very strong, you're able to build upon it. That's what happens, when you have the power of your foundations becomes very, very strong. And you're not at that point, you're not trying to memorize it. You're trying to internalize it, right? So then you're internalizing everything. It's not about 700 verses memorized. It's about just taking few verses, even a single verse, get the gist of it and how you're able to apply for each and every thing, whether it's body, mind, or soul situation that you're going through. And knowing that, especially in this book, knowing that God loves you more than anything, it is reiterated as many times as you need to hear it. So that is a reinforcing factor for any human being to know that you're not looking for love from materialistic, like your spouse or kid or anything, that is on a different scale. But to know that God is constantly loving you and he's with you, to hear that, it really changes your chemistry and thinking process about yourself. The second question that you had was, how is it applying to everybody, right? We are here, I feel, again, this is my take, like we are here either because we are too ecstatic, very, very happy in our life, something fantastic is happening. We are have done all our responsibilities. We are certain age where we just want to cherish spirituality, or you are the worst situation in your life. Either way, this is the right platform. Either you're really, really good, this is the good platform. Either you're really sucking in your life, this is a good platform. Even if you're in the middle, it is only going to go up. So either way, wherever you are, this is the right platform to address your bodily needs, challenges, I mean, body challenges, soul, spirit. That's how I see it. Doesn't matter where you are, it will cater to everybody.
That is true. I love that last part that you said, Padmaji. No matter where you are, whichever stage or station of life you are, it will cater to what you need from a spiritual standpoint. It's just like Ganga, right? No matter which station of Ganga you are in, it is still Ganga. And even if you have tasted a little bit of it, you would basically, that itself is good enough for us to proceed ahead in our life, right? I keep on saying the same stuff, that if you can pick one shloka and can resonate with that and start spending our life around that itself is good enough. That is the power of Bhagavad Gita. It has the power to make our life successful. Beautiful points, very insightful, Padmaji. Those 3 R's that you spoke about, maybe you want to put it on the portal. I want to give it a deep thought. I don't know, sometimes I wonder, how are you able to do runtime thinking, or you download it right at that moment? So beautiful insights. Thank you so much for that. Yes, let's move on.
Thank you, Padmaji. Jyotiji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Jyotiji.
Radhe Radhe everybody, Radhe Radhe Nitinji. I have the older version of the same Gita Ji that Swamiji wrote. I don't have the new version, but the older version was autographed to me by Swamiji himself, and so I treasure that. I feel like Swamiji speaks so logically that whatever he says, it enters our mind so quickly, and I'm trying to make it and implement it in my life. I won't say that I'm perfect at it yet, but I keep trying. And I want to also say that Swamiji has written so many other wonderful books as well. My most recent treasure that I found was Mahabharata for children.
Oh, yeah.
And since I teach little ones, it's Mahabharata is a very, very difficult topic to teach children because there are very, very difficult concepts in there. But Swamiji has written that book as well in such a simple language that that even children can pick it up, and there is no gray areas in there. But I cannot talk enough about Swamiji's books. I mean, he is fantastic, and I thank God that Bhagwanji sends saints like him into our lives so that we can get better. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Wonderful point you brought in, Jyotiji. In fact, he has that uncanny knack to write books catering to all, all across the spectrum, and including kids as well. So he has personally designed this program, Balmukund, and all the books he has written himself, and that range from the inspiring story for kids. If you look at it like those stories that we had heard from our parents or through some books like in Panchatantra and all, he has all those stories written, beautiful stories with a small moral, which kids can really imbibe in their lives, all the moral values that we talk about, kindness, respect, integrity and stuff. And then he's written books like My Best Friend Krishna. So sometimes I wonder, from a something as profound as Bhagavad Gita all the way up to My Best Friend Krishna and the story of a crow, how can he switch gears like that? But he's created curriculum, and he's enabled it's our immense what do you call that, great fortune to have him, and he has pretty much enabled platform across all the ages, whether it's kids, youth, adults, you name it, and he has it, kind of a thing. Thank you so much, Jyotiji. Let's hear from
Thank you, Jyotiji. Thank you, Nitinji, for bringing those the names of those books. Recently I also got a beautiful book authored by Swamiji, Words of Wisdom, for my daughter. And she is loving that book. And I can't believe that it is so easy for children to learn the shlokas and to understand the meaning. And I'm so blessed that we got the book for her. We already enjoy reading Krishna, my best friend. And another book, which is recently I started reading, was Essence of Hinduism. And that is so wonderful book, which is so simple, yet so profound. Highly recommend.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you. Did you finish your thought, Pallavi?
Yes, it's a highly recommended book. It is like Swamiji has put all like great words of wisdom. I'm so blessed to go through that book.
I would strongly recommend everybody to check out that book, A Sense of Hinduism. If you feel challenged when your young ones ask you questions about Hinduism and you're not able to answer them satisfactorily, go through that book. It's a primer on Hinduism. Okay, you will just have all the concepts about Hinduism, the commonly asked questions answered in a very logical manner. And especially when you have to deal with kids, and if you don't have answers, it's not a good situation to be in. Okay, so read that book and you'll love it, I'm sure. All right.
So people are asking that where do we get these books from? I believe most of them are from Amazon.
You can find it on Amazon or a JKU online store. You can check. Do check it out. I wish I had that. If somebody has that link handy, or if somebody can search it up really quick, we can post it there.
Yeah, I'll find it and try sending it.
Just check it out.
That is in the.
Do avail. A lot of wonderful books Swamiji has written. So for the kids, especially if you're interested, you can find all of those there. Great, and you can have the attendance tracker posted, feedback tracker posted.
Yes, sure. Yeah, I think I have posted. Please let me know if you are not able to see them, and I'll post it again.
I saw a couple of other hands.
Yeah, Seema ji, thank you for waiting. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe. Nitin ji, can you bring those questions screen, please?
All right, it would be my utmost pleasure to do that, Seema ji.
Okay. Yes, that one. Thank you. What should be the selection criteria to pick a translation that is truly beneficial? In order to do that, you would need 2 or 3 Bhagavad Gita books side by side to see which is the best translation. The first one I read was a short one in Marathi. Then I read from Prabhupada. And then I went to Swamiji's when he had come to North Carolina 5 or 6 years ago, and listened to him and really didn't read what was written in the Bhagavad Gita that they were selling right there in North Carolina, Raleigh. But I just picked it up intuitively. And while he was eating his lunch, I asked someone if he could please autograph it. So I autographed 2 copies, autographs. And that's the first one I read from. And I think it was the intuition that when I read it, I understood it with his clear examples. I was at the beginner then, the elementary level, so really understood the examples very nicely. And then just before last year's family camp, I ordered the books from the, I think, JKU library. Essence of Hinduism, Pallavi ji, that one and other ones, to read it to my 1-year-old granddaughter. It doesn't matter how old they are. If you read it to them up until age 7, their subconscious is like a sponge, like we were talking about, Ajay ji's class. It absorbs everything. So just read it to them and it just absorbs and comes out when they need it. And I have the old copy, and I'm crazy about writing everywhere. So I'm making all my comments, and I read it twice, and this is the 3rd time reading. And obviously you cannot absorb everything in 1 readings or 2 readings. You can stop the timer. The 1 readings or 2 readings. So that this time I'm reading it and reading the shlokas first, practicing that, and reading it, and again making comments so that I can absorb. I think it's just perpetual reading Hinduism and Ramayana and Lakshman, and I got all those books. I also got 7 Bhagavad Gitas, the old copies, and giving it to the giving it as a gift to the people who are really interested in reading and knowing it. And it's just like the Bibles that they keep in the hotels for you to steal. And why not? If they want to steal a Bible and read it, they can only become better. Thank you.
No, great.
And okay, this one. How do I know the study is helping me navigate through the maze of human life? Well, it's helping me. Like I said, my favorite is 2.47, and the rest are all, I listen to different Swamijis and read different things. So I'm realizing that putting all those other karma yogs as foundation to see if I can practically use it in everyday life. Is like you're saying, you can read a recipe, you can look on YouTube, you can do it, but if you don't actually make it and taste it, it's of no use. So that is the practicality, practical person. That's what I like. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful, Seemaji. Thank you very much. I'm glad you are able to pick up a verse and you're able to extract the key message out of it and trying to put it in life. And I really like that fact that you can do a comparison if you have time, read out different books, but the important thing is to be able to get the import and get those concepts clarified in our mind, at least the theory part of it, and then being able to put it to practice. So all three aspects are important. So yes, to that end, if you have never tried reading Bhagavad Gita and you think you want to read it, do try it out. I'm sure you'll not be disappointed. It's like one of those books which really, gave that momentum that is needed to read this book and have that confidence that yes, we can read it and understand it as well. So great point. I think we have covered everybody. Good discussion. Do we have anybody else or any comments, or we can do our any announcements, Pallaviji, before we do our concluding prayers?
Yeah, Nitinji, I have shared the link. I found it is jkyog.org/store/home.
Yes.
So that is, I believe, is for US. For India, I think the link has to be different. I'll find
check it out. Yeah, you'll find it out.
Yeah, I'll check it out and share it.
Otherwise, Amazon, I think it should have all these books.
Oh yeah, Jyoti has also shared the same link. That is jkyog.org/store/home.
Okay, I'll find the one for India as well and send it to you.
Yes.
But Amazon has all these books, and I'll send you the names.
But Amazon has, and there are most of the books that I have got is from Amazon and some from JKyog as well.
Yeah, this is the right time to plant those seeds in your kids, especially if they have impressionable minds and they're willing to listen to you. Okay, after a while they will not, and that stage can continue for a while. And we never know when these seeds will start fructifying into saplings and then a full-grown plant and fruit and whatnot. So it's a good time, and then do avail these beautiful books. Extremely beneficial, I would say. We do Balmukund every week, so I realize the importance of these books, how easily our little one, he started reciting some of those shlokas and understanding some of the concepts around mind, intellect, soul, which I didn't have any exposure to until pretty late in life. So do check it out. Yes, over to you, Pallaviji, for the announcements. And in the meantime, please fill out your feedback tracker. I like to read your comments, especially things that you want more of, or any other suggestions. They're welcome.
So for India, Nitinji, there's a store rgdham.org, and I think there are a lot of other links as well that people are sharing. I'll just collect all of it and share it in the chat as well.
Yeah. You can make the announcements and then do our prayers for the day.
Yes, I saw Sunitji hand raised. Is that okay if I take?
Sure. That's
Sunitji, Radhe Radhe.
Pleasure to hear from Sunitji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Nitinji. Actually, I just one thing strike me right now. You said, "No, sow this seed of Bhagavad Gita in your kids." So I just realized one thing. Many years back, I got this Gita as a gift from someone. It was lying in my house just like that because I do not know Sanskrit at all. So I will just tell to each and everyone that Gita is like a bomb blast. It's like a bomb. If somebody planted it in my house and it got busted last year only. So it is like a bomb. So you can blast. It will blast, definitely going to blast. Radhe, 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 Radhe.
Wonderful. That's a great way of putting it. Loved it. It just goes on to tell the impact you felt when that blast took off. So really nice to hear that. I think it was more of an implosion than an explosion, because implosion is a bit constructive than an explosion, but good to hear that. It's a very nice analogy. Thank you so much.
Not good at words, so it came and I just said it.
We understood your bhavs, emotions.
Yes, yes.
So that is
yes.
important. Yeah, thank you so much
Yes.
for that.
Thank you. Radhe, Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, wonderful.
Thank you, Sunaji. I'll just take a quick moment for the upcoming
Shyamji, we will
announcement.
like to hear you after the announcements, Shyamji.
Oh, is that okay, Shyamji? I'll just take a quick moment.
Sure.
So the announcement is about the mega charity event, that is Holy Fest, which is upcoming featured event. It is going to be, I think, more for Dallas and Dallas people. They are going to have live concert with the remix King Harry Anand and Shalmali Kholgare. And there's a lot of fun event, color play, dance, food, carnival rides, Desi Bazaar, Braj Ke Rang. There's a lot of fun stuff going to happen on Saturday, March 19, 2022. That is going to be in the Radha Krishna temple in Dallas. So people around Dallas area, do check it out and plan to be there in the temple for this event.
Great. Thank you, Pallaviji. Are you saying only Dallas people are allowed to do charity in this event, or anybody else can do that as well?
I believe anyone can, of course, contribute in charity. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, but participation is, at this point, it doesn't look online, Nitinji.
Yeah, no, I was just kidding. Even okay, I'll figure that out. I was checking that. By the way, the two names that you said, Harry Anand and
Shalmali.
Shalmali, what I've heard is she's from that Balam Pichkari fame, okay, because it's holy. Yes. Radha Krishna temple can rope in celebrities, so you can understand how important Dallas temple is becoming. So we look forward to that event. It's a charitable event, and it's going to be good fun for a noble cause. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Nitinji.
All right, Shyamji.
Yeah, please go ahead.
What to you before we do our closing prayers?
Radhe everybody. Just experience, right? That about how does Gita helps you to navigate through maze of life. I do not know if it was Gita first or my life first, but in the past 8-9 months, I've gone through a lot of ups and downs in my life. You know that. And I do not know the first time it happened. We were reading chapter 2, and it was about soul. Soul na marti hai, na jalti hai, na pani, all those things. And that time,
Nayanam Chintan Shastrani, Nayanam Dhati Pavaka. Yeah, I know we were doing that at that time. Yeah.
That was a moment I lost my dad, and during that week, Swamiji also came to visit us on that online portal, and I spoke to him. So, and believe you me or not, I saw that the light of my father coming to visit me. He was in hospital that time, and I could see him. Maybe he came to visit us to bless us. It's time for me to go, and I could sense that the first time. And second time, as you know, I lost my mom last month, and during the puja at home, it so happened that incidentally the fire broke out somehow. But the Pandit who was going to puja said it's a sign of the soul going away, and nothing happened. Major happened. It was just maybe the sign of the thing that it's okay. I'm over and I'm out now. So I do not know whether I joined this class first or these events had happened first. But trust to me, the last 1 year since I've joined this session, things have not been same for me. Had it been not Gita for last 1 year, I do not know what would I have been going through. But since the Gita happened, I do not know the Gita happened first or events had to happen first. it was Krishna's grace. Howsoever I say it, but he made sure that whatever happened in my life in last 1 year, he made sure that I sail through it peacefully and comfortably. And yes, I'm at a different stage now, pace now, just because of Bhagavad Gita. Had it not been for Gita, I do not know maybe my state of mind or my life, how it had been. But that's for sure that this last 1 year has been really great for me in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. And I think now I can realize that maybe this was a sign of God that I could see this Bhagavad JK online ads, so that I could join it and I could make my life, my journey of life for the past 1 year, sail through peacefully through Lord's grace. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Shyam Bhai, for sharing that. I know you have gone through a really tough time over the last year or so, but it's a very deep realization that you're talking about. It just happened at a moment. So God's grace, actually, if you look at it, events do happen. Even if you look at Abhimanyu, whose mama was Krishna, whose father was great Arjun, and the person who got him married was Vedvyas, none other than Vedvyas. Still, something which has to happen, but God gives us the resources, the strength, and the wisdom to deal with it. That is the real spiritual gain, and I'm so glad you are able to realize it, and we can actually see that. And the beautiful part is that you're able to map it to how it would have been if not for this, right? So now you would still have the pain, but I think that resilience, that strength would go a long way in helping you out. Thank you for sharing that. And it's good to see you are picking up, and things will get better from here on. And it's an honor to have you in these sessions. Thank you so much, Shyamji.
Thank you, Shyamji, for sharing. Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe, please.
Lakshmi ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Am I audible?
Yes.
Very much.
Yeah, I was also trying to read Bhagavad Gita since 4 years. So wherever I get a chance, I used to collect the books. Once I see some Gita practical applications like that. But initially, I never know that I should read first the content and then the application part. So I used to get I got 4 books like that whenever I go to a pilgrim center like that. But it was not helping much me. I'm not getting the concept. It was all little confusion and all. So I don't know, by God's grace, I got the message from JKOs to my mail, which was, I recently created that actually. I didn't give to anyone actually. So into that, I got into the JKOs and mail that you have a Bhagavad Gita daily quotes to the mail. So initially I started with that, reading quotes from the JKO, and then got into this platform. So I've been in this platform since 4 months. But not only on the platform, I should thank Nitinji helping me out of this platform and getting solved of my biggest problem in the life. So I'm happy that the biggest problem is solved because of his advice and his background help from my, not only the theory or something or practical things. It is him, he has supported me at that moment, which I was about to break. So initially the understanding the concepts also, the first 1-2 months, it was bouncing my head. I was not getting the content. But since 2 months, yes, I'm into the track now. I'm understanding little. And thank you so much for this platform, and especially to Nitinji. And sorry for asking some silly questions out of the way. But really with so patience and humbleness, you clear the doubts to me. I'm glad I'm on this platform. Thank you very much. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Lakshmi ji. It's all Swamiji's and God's grace, first of all, for you to land up in this platform, because I think he had a plan for you. And I'm glad that I could become an instrument in helping out in whatever way I could. And it's a pleasure to have you. I always love my conversations with you, the questions that you have, and the earnestness and the sincerity that you have towards this topic, right? If we have that much, that itself is good enough, because God looks at the simplicity in our heart and he creates avenues, opportunities for us because he's willing to help us. The moment we get that sincerity, he's like, okay, all right, let me give you all the avenues and opportunities. So it's so good to hear that and heartening to hear that, those things have started helping you out. And we have a wonderful group going, and it's only going to get better from here on. That much I can tell you. We've just completed 1 year, and I really look forward to this exciting journey. As we go.
And I want to thank Seema ji also making me a call and clearing my questions that day, which I asked my behavior in different situations. So thank you, Seema ji also. Thank you, everyone. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much. Wonderful group. I'm sure we have a lot to learn from each other and help out each other as we go along. Great discussion. We are way over, like always. Are we good then? Thank you, Lakshmi ji. Thank you, everybody, for a wonderful discussion. Tomorrow, we continue on this discussion with 4.3. The discussion is going to get really deep now because we will be introducing bhavs. Okay, and these bhavs are not like they say bahut bhav khate ho in Hindi, right? These are deep bhavs that we are going to talk about, and hopefully we will get into the Madhurya Bhav near the Valentine's Day. If we cannot coincide it, we'll try to cover it before that. Okay, now, that is a very, very deep topic. So I look forward to another fascinating conversation tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening and a great day ahead. Let's do our closing prayers. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukh Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, everybody. Great day and a great evening ahead. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitinji, for such a wonderful session. Thank you, everyone, for joining and having such a wonderful, warm, enthusiastic participation. See you all tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you, Pallavi, for staying back late for us, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
I am so blessed to be part of this group. I can't say more. Like everyone.
The pleasure is entirely ours, and I insist. Okay, so let's leave it at that. Thank you, everybody.
Good night. Good night, and have a great day, everyone. Radhe Radhe.
Bye.